It's official! Woo! It's official. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has officially doubled the federal debt. It took nearly 24 prime ministers and 150 years for the federal government to rack up $600 billion of debt, which is where the total stood right before Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's first day as Prime Minister. In less than a decade, Trudeau then jacked that number up all the way to $1.2 trillion of debt. Trudeau has doubled the debt in less than a decade. So what does that mean for you? Well, Trudeau's debt binge is having a material impact on your life and also on the lives of your kids and grandkids. A baby born today is already on the hook for about $30,000 in federal government debt. And that debt must be paid back with interest and higher taxes, which means higher taxes for future generations of Canadians. And the way things are going, the future looks bleak. The Parliamentary Budget Officer released a recent report that projects the next balanced budget in Ottawa in 2040. That's 16 years from now. And that would mean another $300 billion added to the federal debt. And that means more of your money wasted on interest charges. Interest charges on the federal debt are already costing taxpayers like you more than $1 billion every single week. The feds now waste more money servicing the debt than what they're sending to the provinces in health transfers. In fact, every penny collected through the GST is now going to pay interest on the debt. So welcome to Canada, folks, where you pay a federal sales tax to cover the interest charges on the Trudeau government credit card. And big deficits make it more likely that the government will shake down taxpayers like you for more money. Take Trudeau's recent capital gains tax hike as an example. The tax hike was sold to Canadians in part as a way to keep the debt from spiraling further. But it really illustrates how this government does not have a revenue problem, it has a spending problem. The capital gains tax hike is expected to take $6.9 billion from taxpayers this year. But with the government spending $535 billion, Trudeau will burn through that extra cash in 5 days. In technical terms, this is what's known as a financial dumpster fire, and Trudeau cannot blame it on the pandemic. Trudeau first promised to balance the budget in 2019. Remember that? Well, he broke that promise to you and instead ran a $20 billion deficit, and that was before the pandemic. In fact, in 2018, Trudeau was spending all-time highs even after accounting for inflation and population growth. That means Trudeau was spending more money in 2018 than the government did during any single year of the world wars or past recessions. Trudeau then used the cloud of a pandemic to go on a debt-fueled spending spree. During the pandemic, the federal government announced $576 billion in new spending, but $205 billion of that had nothing to do with COVID. Fast forward to today, to 2024, and spending is still ballooning. Last year, the government pinky promised to find $15 billion in savings over a handful of years. Well, how's that effort going? Well, the feds increased spending by $24 billion last year. It plans to increase spending by another $111 billion over the next 5 years. So yeah, taxpayers have every reason to be pessimistic. Trudeau doubled the debt in less than a decade. Debt interest charges now blow a $1 billion hole in the budget every single week. The government is on track to run deficits for the next decade and a half, and this government has shown time and time again that it couldn't give a damn about fiscal responsibility. But there is a silver lining. Things aren't too far gone yet. The federal government could reverse the capital gains tax hike and still balance the budget next year. All it would need to do is stick to its own spending plan from just 2 budgets ago. And the last time I checked, nobody was screaming about austerity when Trudeau tabled his 2022 budget. After a decade of runaway government borrowing, Promising to limit spending growth is just not enough, not nearly enough. What is needed is for the government to pick up some scissors and to actually cut spending. I think I broke it. Take two.